So now if you're having problems getting customers, particularly in a freight broker business, this is definitely a video that you want to watch. You see, there's an underlying issue that most times we have never addressed when it comes to being able to go out and obtain customers. There's something within us, and we have to address that before we can do that effectively. And what we often do is we keep doing the same thing, thinking that we're going to get a different result. Just for some reason, things are going to change. But what I want to let you know today is that most times that's not the case. If you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same result. And your business will become stagnant. You won't be able to get your business to where it is that you want it to go. You won't be able to get customers so that you can flourish. So customers are the key. So now if there's something that's stopping us from being able to get customers, then we definitely want to address that. Most of us never address this particular situation. So what I'm going to do today in this video is I'm going to show you what exactly the problem is. Why is it that you're not able to go out and get customers? And then I'm going to show you some things that you can do to get beyond it. Because remember, this is a key factor in your business. This is a key factor in you being successful. The factor when it really boils down to it. Without customers, there's no business. So we have to address whatever it is that's causing us not to be able to get customers. And I'm going to tell you today, there is something that you have not addressed. It's what's causing you not to get customers, and I'm going to introduce you to it today. So come on inside, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Now let's get into the business. All right, so now if you can relate to what I'm getting ready to share with you, or you've had a similar experience, I would certainly appreciate it if you share it with us in the comment section. Or if you have something different that you've experienced, share that with us as well. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you've done all of the homework? You got your shippers list together, you've crossed the T's, you've dotted the I's. Now it's time to go out and execute. It's time for you to go out and actually start picking up the phone and calling these customers that you've already done this homework on. And because you've done the homework, you would think, hey, I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to go ahead and start doing this. But for some reason, you don't move forward. And it's because of that feeling in the bottom of your stomach. You're nervous, you're afraid, and you just have this anxiety that's taken over, and you can't pick up that phone and start calling your customers. Well, there's a reason for that. You see, if we can never identify the reason, then we can't solve the problem. So it's important to know what the problem is. For example, with me, I've struggled with this issue throughout my life. But even though you struggle with things, you have to find ways to get through it, get beyond it, because that can't stand in the way of you winning. You can't allow for that to stand in the way of you winning, so you got to find a way through it. That's what I did. But what is this issue? You know, this issue that make you feel just queasy in the stomach, make you just feel nervous, unsure of yourself, make you never want to do the thing that you need to do in order to get your business moving, and that's smiling and dialing. Make us not want to do that, even when we're prepared. Because people say, oh, when you're prepared, you can do something more easily. No, not really. Not this thing. You know, people say, oh, when I am prepared for something, then I'm not as nervous. Well, that may work for some people, but even when I'm prepared, I still have a problem with this particular issue. What is it? What am I talking about? The term is called glossophobia. And you may never have heard of that term, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. What is glossophobia? It's the fear of speaking publicly. And when we're talking speaking publicly, that doesn't mean that I have to be talking to hundreds or thousands of people. I could be having a conversation with somebody on the phone and be so paralyzed by the fear that I can't get my words out. I can't speak fluently. I can't express myself in the way that I want to express myself. I know what I want to say, but it won't come out like I want it to come out. And you would think because you're on the phone and you get to hide behind the phone that you would be able to articulate yourself in the way that you want to. The conversation would go as smoothly as you like, but you're still nervous. You're still not able to get your words out in the way that you want to, express yourself in the way that you want because of glossophobia, your fear of speaking to people. So I think it's important that we address that issue first, not just keep doing it. Maybe, yes, you would become more comfortable if you just keep doing it. But for most of us, I think it's important to speak to that issue, and then you can release yourself from it. Because until you deal with the issue, I think it's always going to be there. It's always going to be that underlying problem there, and you won't get over it until you deal with it. So for me, there were a couple of things that I had to do. One worked particularly well, and that's what I'm getting ready to share with you now. So now I share with you in the front of this video that I've struggled throughout the entirety of my life with speaking publicly. But ironically, that's what I've done for a very big part of my life. I've had to speak publicly. And I've always carried this problem with me when I did speak publicly. And because of this issue, my speech, or what I was saying, wasn't as good as it could have been because I was always nervous. I was always unsure, not as confident as I wanted to be. And why was that? Well, that was because of the fear that I had of being in front of people talking. And a lot of us, struggle with that. That's why I think it's important that we deal with the fear first. We deal with that thing that's causing us to have the problem that we're having instead of just marching on. Some people just say, hey, just keep doing it and you'll get better at it. Well, that didn't work for me because I kept doing it, but I was still nervous every time I did it. I was unsure. I was not as confident as I wanted to be. So I couldn't just keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. So what I had to do was to deal with something that was more important than anything else. I had to find myself, accept myself, and be myself. You see, what I realized is that I'm not good at doing impressions. If I try to be somebody else, it'll be obvious that I'm trying to be somebody else. So I think it's important to focus on who you are. Be the best person that you can be. Bring the best person to the world that you can bring every single day. Improve upon who you are and let the chips fall where they may. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Anytime you compare yourself to other people, you'll always come up short, or someone will always come up short. So that's not the idea for somebody to come up short when I'm comparing two things. I don't want to look at myself and look at somebody else and say one is better than the other. They're different. They have different ways that they do things, but they may get the same result. So it's not about one being better necessarily than the other. I think it's important, or at least it was important for me, just to be Brandon. Once I realized that being Brandon was more than good enough, then it allows for me to be comfortable with who I am. It allows for the nervousness, the anxiety to start to ease away because I'm just being who I am. I'm not trying to be anybody else, because when you try to be somebody else, you're not being your true self. Then it comes shining through just like the rays of the sun. I spend my time focused on me and what I have to work on, because I have so many things to work on, so many things to get better at, that I don't have time to be in somebody else's business. I have to mind my own business. And when we're truly minding our own business, if you're minding your own business, you'll realize that you don't have time to mind anybody else's business. But now that doesn't mean that I don't use other things from other people, because I do. Most of my thoughts are not original. Matter of fact, I don't come up with original thoughts. Most of us don't. We see things and hear things through other people, and we incorporate it into our own lives, but we make it our own. The way that I say something and the way that you say something, it may be completely different. But you're going to appeal to certain people, and I'm going to appeal to certain people. That's just how that works. So it's not about me being you or you trying to be me. It's about being your own true self, finding that person. We have to find out who that is. Sometimes we don't know really who we are, what we are really supposed to bring to the world. And we have to discover that. And as you discover yourself, you become more comfortable with who you are, because now you know who you are. You're comfortable and confident with who you are. So I think that's the most important part, accepting yourself and being yourself. When you're talking to shippers, just be who you are. Throw this scripted stuff out of the window. Talk to this person like you're talking to a friend, like you're talking to somebody that you are going to become a friend with at some point. Develop your own way, develop your own style, because at the end of the day, nobody can be you better than you. Just be yourself. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'm going to leave a link in the description. You can check out my free 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It'll show me in the office moving loads, talking to shippers, talking to carriers. That way you can really see how the business works before you jump in. And if you want to know more about how we get customers, I'm going to leave my free video titled How We Find Shippers to show you exactly how that's done. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.